I'm not interested in hearing any excuses or justifications. I don't want to know why you did it or if it was your first affair. What matters is that you did it, and you've damaged our family. You cheated on me and on our 4 children. They won't have a chance at a normal childhood. You also cheated on both our parents, so now the kids won't have a normal grandparent-grandchild relationship. You used your entire family, and for what? As far as I'm concerned, you're a lying, cheating piece of... I talked to a lawyer like you suggested, and she confirmed that what you threatened me with that. So my life is going to be pretty miserable for the next 10 years. I was pretty shocked when I found out that it was you who ruined us, but I'll be punished for it. Rick, please, I didn't threaten you. I didn't mean that. I was just trying to explain the reality of our situation. I know I'm a liar and a cheater, but our 4 children, I know the kids are the most important thing. But I guess in your world, my life being destroyed is just collateral damage. Please don't call me cute, you're not entitled to that. I'm just Rick, and I'm just for laughs. I heard you telling me that I should let you continue your affair even though you're married. I have to let you do that so I don't have to be a part of your life. I just wanted to flag that I'll be paying child support and alimony to you for the next 10 years. I didn't make that point very well yesterday. I'm sorry, but it's hard for me to explain. It's not a blow to you, but he does these things to me. He makes me feel things. I've never felt this way before. I don't love him, but I can't let him go now. I know you told me he was better in bed and so on, but I'm sorry that what I was born with wasn't enough for you. We had sex before marriage, so if my friend wasn't enough, I don't know what was. You shouldn't have accepted my proposal. In the 15 years and 4 kids since then, I've never once heard you complain about my abilities in bed. This is all about you, not me. I know that, but please let me try to explain it better. Go ahead. I love fairy tales. He waved his hand graciously and plopped back in his chair. In the year since this whole thing started, have I ever denied you sex? Have you ever noticed the slightest decrease in my attention to the whole family? Have I ever canceled a meal with you? There's nothing you or the kids can blame me for because of my affair on the side. That's all true. But that only made him angrier because she didn't really get it then. She should have told me this. If you were so good at hiding it, taking care of my needs, being a good mother and all that for our kids, why tell me now? At least I had the bliss of my ignorance. Now you've taken even that away from me. I had to tell you, Rick, because someone close to us saw me in a compromising position. I didn't want you to find out from the outside, so I had to tell. You know, Noble saw you with your friend. I'd like to know who it was because no one has told me anything about it. I'd like to know who my good friend is. I'm not going to tell you that I can't. Why not? You won't even tell me the name of your lover. It's getting ugly. I'm not going to tell you who saw me because it doesn't matter, and it would cause you unnecessary pain. I'm also not going to tell you who my friend is because I know you'll attack him. I can't have the father of our children in jail. He needs to be there with all the sarcasm he could muster. You seem to know what's best for me in every aspect of my life, so I guess I shouldn't be upset at all. Is it time to explain to me how good it will be for me to sit in the chair like a good little boy and watch you make love so I can wash you both when you're Rick? Please stop with the sarcasm. It's not becoming and it's childish. What's a cuckold? Have you and Kat never laughed at me, made fun of my friend's size, or made fun of me in any other way over the last year? There have been other opportunities to humiliate me too. How many times have you slept in my bed with him or let him drink my booze, laughing the whole time I was out of town? Rick didn't even notice the slap that followed. It nearly knocked him off his feet, and in his anger, he instinctively started to strike back. He managed not to, but he was close to it. He stood rubbing his cheek and practicing his jaw to make sure it was working. He was in a state of shock. He was shocked because she'd hit him, and horrified because he'd almost hit her. Back, he knew it was time to leave. He had to keep his distance between them. For her part, Kat was just as stunned by his violence against the man she loved. She opened her eyes wide and covered her mouth with her hands, unable to speak. She began to cry. Everything was falling apart. This was not at all how she wanted the conversation to continue. When she came to her senses, she apologized and tried to hug Rick, but he pushed her away. Rick, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I know you have no reason to believe me, but he was never there. For our family and home, and none of us have ever said a word about you. I don't know if you believe me, but I can share my life when I'm with you. It doesn't even exist. And when that's right, that also means that when with him, me and the kids don't exist. She lowered her head and said quietly, Yes, Rick, That's true, but it's a good thing. I was going to say that I was going to ask how you could ever think that I could humiliate you. But under the circumstances, I guess there's no point in arguing about it. It's true. Nothing like that ever happened. You know I'm going to do a DNA test on the kid's cat. She was about to slap him again, but he grabbed her arm and spoke threateningly. Don't try that again. I'm trying my best to keep my composure. What you've been doing to me all these months doesn't give you the right to be shocked by my words. Okay, Rick. I understand, but we have to work this out somehow. My friend is out of our lives. You mean this scumbag? It was a statement, not a question. All the venom that had built up inside him was included in those words. He's not a scumbag, Rick. He's a good guy, of course. He's just a nice guy who sleeps with other people's wives. While we're on the subject, do I need to get an STD test? How many other wives does he use? What putrid diseases is he carrying around? You can do that if you want, but he and I have both been tested weekly since we started working together. I insisted on it so you and I wouldn't be at risk. That's great. I certainly don't want to hurt your feelings, but forgive me if I do anyway. Thanks for. Also, you told me you were sleeping with him without protection. You made me wear condoms after our youngest was born until I was cut off. I know you too well, Kat. What was your plan? If that head got you pregnant, it would just be another casualty of my life raising someone else's child. I really want to know. I had a vasectomy, so I'm wondering if I should expect the same speech. Look, Rick, you raise this child as your own, or I'm going to take away everything you hold dear. Is that something I should look forward to? It's never going to happen. Let's just focus on how we're going to solve our problems as adults. You mean work out our problems so you can have a boyfriend and stay married to me? Work that out. It's not going to happen. Kat, I'm getting out of here before I do something stupid. If there's an emergency, you can contact me through my parents. I'll stay with them until I figure out what to do. I'll think about what you said, but right now I'm considering divorce as my only option. Please don't contact me with any more about how we should talk about this. I have nothing more to say. You've made your position perfectly clear. Rick did stay at his parents' house. He laid everything out to his mom and dad, including his conversation with Kat. His dad was shocked and supportive. He didn't try to influence Rick's decision one way or the other. He just told him that he would stand by him no matter what. Rick decided. His mother, on the other hand, was relentless. Even as a young child, Rick had never questioned who was in charge of the family. His mother ran it. She started attacking him as soon as he finished his story. Come on, Ricky. She never stopped calling him that. It can't be that bad. You have 4 beautiful children who really need you. You just need to find a way to coexist with Kat. I know she loves you. Oh, Mom, did you get that right? She's having sex with another man and she wants me to put up with it. Ricky, listen to me. Divorcing her will be a permanent solution to a temporary problem. In a few months, she'll get over her infatuation with this other man and realize she has a home. Don't divorce her. I know you can handle it. She kept saying this day and night. Often she would cry begging him to reconsider the divorce. Sometimes she would even break into the old, I'm very disappointed in you, Ricky. We raised you better than that. The worst thing she said, and even though she apologized immediately, it still hurt him terribly. Ricky, if you don't go back to Kat and decide to live together, I will never forgive you. Ricky knew that his parents loved their grandchildren to death, but he also noticed, whenever his mother started to molest him, his father would try to disappear from the room when they were alone together. His father would remind him that he would support whatever decision he made, but his father never said anything like that when his mother was around. In the end, Rick came to the conclusion that he decided it was best to keep the family together, as he didn't have many options. He felt like a bird trapped in a cage, unable to find a way out. He decided to make the best of a bad situation and went home. He told his father, I've decided to stay. I'm only staying so our kids don't have to grow up. Given the circumstances of our broken home, I'm not willing to subject our children to the potential of our friend moving in. I'm only going to stay here until Amanda turns 18, and then I'm leaving. I'm going to turn the study into my bedroom because I don't think I want to be in the same space as him. I'm not sleeping in the same bed with you after you blow your friend's brains out. No, she said, stomping her foot. You're going to sleep with me. I've been living with my friend for a year now. Have you ever seen or felt anything that raised suspicion? No, I haven't. You're sleeping with me, and that's final. Besides, what will the kids think? I think we need to be on our best behavior now that you're staying home. You can leave after the other kids leave, and Amanda turns 18, so be it. In the meantime, we sleep together. Kat understood it this way. She knew that Rick loved her, and that their relationship would work out in time. She wasn't going to give him any reason to distance himself. She made sure there was no reason for him to distance himself. She promised herself she'd be even more careful with her lover in the future to make sure Rick didn't see or feel anything that would upset him. Of course, the kids were thrilled to have him home, but Rick was even happier. He couldn't be away from them. Even on his business trips, he made a point of contacting them every day. He also never forgot to bring them home small gifts. The sight of their excitement gave him hope that he could get through this. Things didn't go well at first, but Kat no longer bothered trying to convince him that everything was okay. She did a full course of pressuring him to make love to her, but Rick couldn't. He tried his best to act normal, but it was difficult, and an uneasy truce developed between husband and wife. It was very hard for Rick not to get angry whenever Kat left the house alone, even though she told him that she only saw her friend once or twice a week, and it was every time she left the house alone. It hurt Rick deeply, and it was clear that she tried everything to make him feel more comfortable, but it didn't work. After going through a few rough weeks, she decided to see a marriage counselor because she felt that Rick wasn't adapting quickly. He was struggling to adjust to his new situation and felt it was important to help get their relationship back on track. The kids were beginning to suspect something too. Rick was taken aback when Kat brought up the idea of going to marriage counseling together, so she could be more comfortable with him sleeping over. With other guys, he laughed so hard he started to hiccup, but then Kat saw a grim expression on his face. He became quiet and very sullen. "You know, Kat, maybe this isn't a bad idea. We should do it." Rick had several reasons to agree. He was curious how Kat was going to sell her boyfriend to a counselor. To make their marriage stronger, it could be interesting, but I have to choose the counselor. He didn't want someone from the New Age era extolling the virtues of polyandrous relationships in front of him. Kat readily agreed, and for some reason felt excited, and there was so much anticipation about it all. Rick was amazed at the depth of her delusion. Kat was amazed at the success of the counseling session. After 2 or 3 sessions, Rick became much more affectionate at home. He didn't yell at her and he no longer sulked. Frankly, the counselor was pretty amazed too. Basically, he just pointed out to Rick that social norms didn't matter. What mattered was what Rick and Kat thought was normal. The counselor saw more and more situations like this in his practice, and they never ended well. Once the 10 sessions were over, he thought he should write an article and submit it to Psychology Today. He wrote an article and submitted it to Psychology Today, hoping it would help couples across the country. Life went on in Rick and Kat's home. Their marriage wasn't perfect, but they got along well and worked together to give their children the best childhood experiences they could. It seemed that their marriage was better than most, almost immediately after counseling ended. Their lovemaking returned to normal. Rick and Kat never talked about her male friend again. Rick knew he was ignoring the obvious, but saw no reason to bring it up. There was a serious incident that Rick was so upset that he almost broke their agreement. 6 years later, Rick received a call from his father asking him to come to their house immediately. Kat noticed the serious look on his face. "Rick, what's wrong? You're scaring me." "I don't know, but I think my mom might be sick." "Dad, I have to go over there right now." He said, "I'll go over there right now. Wait, I'll come with you." Kat looked worried because she loved his parents almost as much as she loved her own. His parents were both sitting in the living room. His dad looked angry and his mom was obviously crying, which made him more anxious. His father spoke first. "Rick, I want you to know that I only found out about this yesterday and I'm very angry with your mother. I have to tell you something that's going to be difficult for you to hear. I never wanted this. I just wanted to keep your family together. You know I love grandchildren so much. Just tell me, Mom. I'm the one who saw Kat with her boyfriend years ago. I once saw them leaving a hotel room when I was meeting Dora for lunch. He didn't tell me about it. How could you do that to me? The kids were just babies. They needed both parents." She kept talking, but he couldn't hear the rest of what she said. He was stunned, his own mother. Rick got up and left without another word. When he got home, Kat asked him questions, but he simply said that his parents were worried about whether we had enough money to pay for all the kids' college expenses. I told them we were working on it and that they could help in any way they could. They are just getting older and worried. I think that's typical of old people. Well, thank goodness. I hope you told them." He told them not to worry anymore. Rick just nodded and went to the backyard. From then on, Rick's relationship with his mother was never the same. They saw each other usually with the grandchildren and Kat, but the close relationship they had was gone forever. It was the same with his parents' marriage. His father actually left. He was back home for about a month, and he was really upset about his wife's cheating. Unfortunately, his father passed away about a year after this encounter. He died a sad man, and it really bothered Rick. He had a few days where he was pretty down after the funeral. At least he had Kat with him every step of the way, and she helped him get through it. Rick's decision to leave his wife started to seem less and less feasible. He felt strongly about it, but he realized that his wife loved him, and that she was trying to be with him, so he hesitated. Their oldest child had left for college, and the next two were following suit. Amanda would turn 18 in a couple more years, and had already graduated from high school. She was ready. The years of raising a child, especially in high school, passed like a blur. Around this time, his mom passed away too. Death is a very difficult and time-consuming process. There's a saying that, as an only child, the good news is that when your parents die, you don't have to argue. The downside is that you don't have anyone to share the burden with. His parents left him enough money to ensure that all the children could get a college education without being burdened with student loan debt. Looking through their papers, Rick saw a letter from his mother addressed to him. He opened the letter and saw that it was handwritten and addressed to him. It simply read, "After I'm gone." It was dated just 3 weeks before his mother died. He put it in his pocket and decided to read it later. Shortly after his mother's death, Rick had essentially decided to stay with Kat. The pain and anger he had felt were gone, and he felt he had a better life. He was in a good position, so why rock the boat? He'd seen how lonely his mother had been, and he worried that the same thing could happen to him if he left Kat. Amanda was ready to leave, and he was already starting to suffer from empty nest syndrome. Rick tossed the letter in his desk and forgot about it for a few weeks. One day, while looking through his desk, he came across the letter and decided to read it. What he read shocked him. He couldn't believe it. That's when he realized that when you start being lied to, trust disappears. You question everything. Was the content true, or was his mother just trying to look better after her death? He decided he could have torn up the letter and not said a word. In less than a year, Amanda would turn 18 and head off to college. But he thought about the letter often, and it affected his decisions about the future. The day after Amanda left for school, Rick sat down next to Kat. "Kat, I've met with a lawyer, and I'm going when it comes to divorce. You're going to have to go to the office to sign the papers, or I'll have to serve you with them. I don't want to embarrass you, but I have to move on. Why did we get along so well all these years if you don't love me?" "Kat, we agreed that I would stay until Amanda turned 18. You don't love me, Kat. My love didn't just disappear overnight. I stopped the moment you threatened me. I owe it to myself to walk away, as we agreed 10 years ago. I know our paths will cross again because of the kids and grandkids, so I'll be polite, but we're done." "Come on, Rick. You mean all those times we held hands? The countless times you told me how much you love me, and the love-making wasn't real. I know. The difference between sex and love is that you made love to me. It took a while, but after a few months, the revenge sex turned into sex, and then into love-making. I know that's what happened. I lied to you, Kat. It was an act, and you know why." Kat was crying openly. Now, she didn't say anything, she just shook her head negatively because I realized. I had a realization. You can divorce me at any time and for any reason. Why did I agree to counseling? We live in a no-fault environment. You could file for divorce just because I forgot to take out the trash or forgot your birthday. What if eventually you fell in love with your new partner I would have become a part of? Time, Dad. You had all the power in our relationship. I couldn't take any chances, so I tried to be the best dad I could. With you, I pretended I don't believe you. I know you love me. I know you do. I would never do anything like this to you." She screamed hysterically and sobbed uncontrollably. Maybe it was only now that she finally realized the true depth of her actions. "Wait, please, Rick. There's something I have to tell you. I haven't seen my boyfriend or been with anyone but you in almost 10 years. Am I supposed to? I think we can agree that's pretty risky. Even for you, Rick. I honestly believe that Kat would do or say anything to get what she wants. I swear it's the truth, Rick. I've been a completely faithful wife to you for months now, after we talked. Why and what happened? You never said anything to me. I thought you wouldn't believe me anyway, so I didn't say anything. What happened was that as soon as I told him about our relationship, he started to change. When we were together, he started belittling you and calling you a wimp. The horn player started telling me I should cut you off and said all kinds of perverted things when we were close. Finally, one day I got fed up and slapped him and left. I never came back, and I was never with anyone else but you. How many times did you slap him? Just once. Why do you ask? There was no reason. At least he and I are the same even in that, so you kept it to yourself all these years. Yes, Rick. I decided the only thing I could do was to be the best mother and wife I could be. I thought we were good. Well, I'm giving you've been an amazing mom. I don't see how anyone could be better. And I know you'll be a great grandmother and mother. I have to tell you that my pain is still there, though. I'll also give you credit for trying to be a good wife. I know the closeness we had before your affair never returned, but I knew you tried, and that you cared about me. To me, it was never better than just two friends with benefits. Please, Rick, you have to stay. Please don't leave me. I'll do anything you say not to. I really hope you don't leave. I'm begging you, okay? A few years ago, I found out it was my mother who saw you with your lover. Did you ever talk to her about it? After a meaningful pause, she replied, No, I had no idea your mother had seen me. Then she told me that later that day, you confronted her and threatened that if she told me about it, she would be responsible for the destruction of our family, and that you would make sure she never saw you again. Her grandchildren. I didn't do any of that. I don't know, Kat, but what my mom said to me is very similar to what you said 10 years ago. The problem is, I don't believe you. I'm sorry, but there's nothing you can say that will make me stay anyway. I've spent a lot of time here for the kids, but it's time for me to do something for myself. I've decided to move on. Kat was in tears, but Rick was undeterred. He left his house for the last time that same day, and started receiving he got some pretty angry and emotional phone calls from each of the kids, asking him why he'd left their mum before answering. He asked each one a simple question. Was I a good father? They told him he'd been a fantastic dad throughout their lives, which made him a bit emotional. He told them the truth, including their grandma's involvement. He didn't hold back and didn't embellish anything. He explained that he'd almost left then because he was. They were angry and ashamed, but they thanked him for staying with them. They still had a relationship with their mum, but they were never the same. Rick never spoke to Kat again. He even refused to be in the same room with her, except for the children's weddings and grandchildren's birthdays. Rick grew to love his independent life. He realized there was a big difference between being independent and being alone. He was never lonely because he had an important part of his children's love and respect.